deepfake technology, powered by artificial intelligence and machine learning, has emerged as one of the most striking examples of human creativity and innovation meeting moral ambiguity. At its core, a deepfake is the synthetic manipulation of visual or audio content, often generated by neural networks, that convincingly replaces or fabricates someone's identity. Unlike traditional photo editing, deepfakes achieve unprecedented realism by capturing facial expressions, vocal intonations, and gestures in ways that deceive even the most discerning eye. Initially, the promise of deepfake technology appeared harmless even exciting. It offered opportunities in film production, education, accessibility tools, and digital archiving. Actors who had passed away could be revived for cinematic roles. Language barriers could be overcome by syncing speech with accurate mouth movements. Museums could reconstruct historical figures for immersive learning experiences. In essence, deepfakes represented the democratization of sophisticated visual effects that once required Hollywood budgets. Yet, the same democratization has unleashed profound ethical dilemmas. The ability for nearly anyone with modest computing power to create hyper-realistic but fabricated media has destabilized one of society's core assumptions: that seeing is believing. When reality itself can be manufactured, truth becomes negotiable. This erosion of trust is not just a theoretical concern. It plays out in politics, journalism, and personal relationships. For instance, manipulated videos have already been used to discredit public figures, sow political confusion, or harass private citizens. The rise of deepfakes poses the first critical ethical question: should innovation be pursued without boundaries? On one hand, progress thrives on experimentation and openness. On the other, the reckless release of such tools threatens to corrode the very fabric of shared reality, like nuclear energy or genetic engineering. Deepfake technology has forced humanity to confront the paradox of power capable of profound good and immense harm simultaneously. At the heart of the deepfake debate lies the issue of consent. To manipulate someone's likeness without permission raises serious questions about autonomy and dignity. When an individual's face is placed into fabricated scenarios, harmless or malicious, their ability to control their digital identity is stripped away. This is especially acute in cases of non-consensual deepfake pornography, which overwhelmingly targets women. The ethical harm is not merely reputational, it violates the personhood of individuals by reducing them to tools of someone else's imagination. Privacy is equally endangered. Unlike data breaches that expose personal information, deepfakes weaponize the most intimate identifier, one's face and voice. These are not just attributes, but elements of personal identity woven into how individuals present themselves in daily life. The replication of these attributes without oversight or regulation magnifies the scope of potential misuse, from impersonating family members in scams to undermining digital authentication systems. Moreover, the psychological harm inflicted by deepfakes cannot be underestimated. Victims of malicious deepfakes report trauma akin to other forms of digital harassment, anxiety, shame, and social withdrawal. The fact that the content may be fabricated does not negate its power to destroy credibility or damage relationships. A manipulated video of a politician uttering offensive remarks or a fabricated recording of a CEO confessing fraud can have tangible consequences long before it is debunked. Ethically, these dilemmas expose a tension between freedom of expression and protection from harm. Supporters argue that creating parodies or satirical deepfakes falls under legitimate artistic freedom. Yet, when these creations blur into indistinguishable realism, the line between parody and deception disappears. This raises urgent questions. Where should society draw the line between creative experimentation and destructive exploitation? And more importantly, who decides that line? The state, private corporations, or communities themselves? The answer cannot be simplistic. Ethical reflection on deepfakes requires recognizing that not all uses are malicious, but the potential for harm is disproportionately high when consent and privacy are disregarded. Thus, the debate must pivot to accountability and governance. The societal consequences of deepfakes extend far beyond individual harm. They strike at the collective trust that underpins institutions of democracy, journalism, and law. In a world already fraught with misinformation, deepfakes escalate the stakes by creating fabricated evidence that looks indistinguishably real. This phenomenon is often described as the liar's dividend. Once deepfakes exist, individuals can dismiss genuine evidence as fake, thereby shielding themselves from accountability. Consider elections. A convincing deepfake of a candidate making inflammatory remarks released just before a vote could sway public opinion irreversibly. Even if debunked later, the damage would linger, as first impressions often shape political perception. Similarly, deepfakes threaten national security. Authoritative-sounding fake announcements by world leaders could incite panic, manipulate markets, or provoke international conflict. The erosion of trust in authentic communication becomes a weapon in information warfare. Journalism, traditionally the guardian of truth, also faces an existential crisis. Reporters and fact-checkers can debunk false claims, but the speed and scale of deepfake circulation outpace verification efforts. Moreover, as the sophistication of deepfakes increases, distinguishing truth from fiction may become impossible even with advanced detection tools. The very notion of evidence video footage, audio recordings, photographic proof loses its anchoring role in public discourse. Legal systems are similarly vulnerable. Courts rely on forensic evidence and witness testimonies, often supported by audio-visual materials. If deepfakes enter the judicial process, they risk corrupting the integrity of trials, leading to miscarriages of justice. The question then arises: how can societies safeguard the legitimacy of truth-based systems when digital deception becomes indistinguishable from reality. Ultimately, the social threat of deepfakes lies in their corrosive effect on epistemic trust, the shared confidence in knowing what is real. Without this trust, democracies risk fragmentation, institutions risk collapse, and communities risk succumbing to cynicism. To preserve trust, society must confront deepfakes not merely as technical challenges, but as profound ethical questions about truth and deception in the digital age. Addressing the ethical crisis of deepfakes requires a multifaceted approach that combines technology, law, education, and culture. Technological countermeasures are the most immediate line of defense. Researchers are developing detection algorithms that analyze pixel inconsistencies, blinking patterns, or audio anomalies. Blockchain-based authentication systems have also been proposed, allowing creators to verify the origin of genuine content. While valuable, these tools resemble an arms race. As detection improves, so too does the sophistication of forgeries. Thus, legal and regulatory frameworks must complement technical solutions. Some countries have introduced laws criminalizing malicious deepfake use, particularly in areas of pornography and election interference. However, global inconsistency remains a problem. A deepfake created in one jurisdiction may circulate globally, bypassing local laws. International cooperation, akin to treaties on cybercrime or data protection, may be necessary to establish a shared baseline of accountability. Equally crucial is ethical education. Societies must cultivate digital literacy so that individuals learn to question what they see and hear online. Critical thinking, once a skill reserved for academic study, must now become a civic virtue. By fostering skepticism, not cynicisms, can resist manipulation and demand greater transparency from media and institutions. Yet governance cannot be purely defensive. There is a need to articulate a positive vision of how deepfake technology can serve the common good. In medicine, deepfakes could help reconstruct speech for patients who have lost their voice. In art, they can bring historical figures into interactive dialogue with students. In accessibility, they can empower people with disabilities to communicate more vividly. Ethical governance, therefore, should not suffocate innovation, but guide it toward human flourishing. Ultimately, the challenge of deepfakes is not about technology alone, but about humanity's relationship with truth. To unmask digital deception, societies must reassert the value of authenticity, accountability, and trust. The ethics of deepfakes demand a balance between creativity and responsibility, between freedom and protection, and between innovation and restraint. Only by confronting these tensions honestly can we ensure that the power of artificial intelligence is not weaponized against the very fabric of reality, but directed toward a more just and trustworthy digital world.